Manic Street Preachers, then this is the gig. We'll do it as we usually do, gig reviews, even though it's a bit of a special one. So the venue?
The venue was the Millennium Stadium, downtown Cardiff, capacity a massive 54,000. And as many of you already know, this place is one of those all-weather solutions, a roof, no less, which was a godsend on a rainy, windy night in the Welsh capital, made for a very special, if somewhat surreal atmosphere.
Did you still get the same thing, you know, in a small venue where the sort of sweat does drip, doesn't it, off a roof?
Not in this one.
Not in this one. Percentage full?
Absolutely rammed to the gilders, as I say, you know, like 54,000 revellers singing a Design for Life. Quite an atmosphere, really.
Yeah, and the audience?
A real mixture, every age, every shape and size. Always find it really hard to quantify an audience that big, but there were lots of Welsh flags, as you would expect. I think the most simple thing I can say is that it was the best-natured audience I've witnessed for quite some time, especially when you take into account some of the things they had to put up with, but I'll talk about that in a bit.
Okay. Greatest hit sets from the Manic. They changed it, actually, a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah, they added a couple of, kind of tunes that you wouldn't exactly expect, but yeah, it was a greatest hits through and through. It was split in two halves. The first half before midnight included You Stole the Sun from My Heart, which they opened with. La Tristessa was in there. There was a cover of Chuck Berry's Rock and Roll Music, the B-side of the current single. Motown Junk, which was a high point for me. And then Motorcycle Emptiness before the Bells. Then James came on after the Bells, about 5-10 minutes later. Honest Todd for acoustic versions of Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, which, I don't know, who did that? Was that a Burt Bacharach song? I'm not entirely. You're just too good to be true. Can't Take My Eyes Off you.
I know the song you're talking about,
yeah,
of course.
Brilliant
Even if I knew, would you think I'd own up here, live on national radio? Quite possibly not. I'll tell you in a minute.
He went on from that, which was a very sort of celebratory moment, onto quite a reflective one with Small Black Flowers, which he dedicated to Richie, who he described as his best friend and coolest companion of the decade, which was a touching moment. They then did another batch of tunes, including Australia, You Love Us, Tolerate was in there, and they wound up with a Design for Life.
Of course, and interesting support.
Yeah, really great support, Bill, very fitting. Shaq opened proceedings, Feeder picked up the pace, and then the Super Furries almost stole the show, I have to say.
Yeah.
The crowd was pretty much into everyone, but yeah, I've got to say there was a huge, strong Super Furries contingent.
And what did the audience think then, in general?
Well, there wasn't a bad word said about the entertainment for the evening, but people were well and truly unimpressed by the venue's bar facilities, which, you've got to admit, are pretty much important on the eve of a new millennium.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrea, and I've come all the way from Southampton, and I've come all the way to have an absolutely crap night. It's now 10 to 12, and I'm going to see my new year in at the bar, sober as a judge, because it's taking me approximately 5 hours to get a beer. There's not enough staff. There's 3 people behind each bar, which isn't enough, for the people that are here. People have been leaving because they've been having such a bad night.
Just enjoy the Manic, so I'm being along.
I queued 3/4 of an hour for 4 drinks. Too long, if you ask me. Too long. But nevertheless, I'm having an excellent night.
It's not enough bar stuff. They're not geared up for it. They haven't got enough beer in. They haven't got enough pint glasses even. 99% of the people having a good time, Manic Street Preachers are good and everybody's bumping up and down. It's a great noise in there with it's a great atmosphere with the roof over. It's just a little bit of a flat man on the day, isn't it?
I'm Sergeant Francis Williams, South Wales Police, and it's just the first concert we've had in the Millennium Stadium, and there have been things that haven't gone quite according to plan. It's just something we're going to learn from, and we just have to speak to everybody involved.
They just blew everyone away. Good the way they stopped for New Year's Eve. Got everyone psyched up.
Yeah, they're probably surprised themselves, The way they looked on the stage, as if they sort of surprised themselves, they had such a good night themselves, so fair play to them, definitely.
They looked like they couldn't believe it themselves. Like, they 10 years ago, small band, now they're playing in front of everyone New Year's Eve. I bet they can't believe it themselves.
Fair enough, it's not just all about them, is it? They complement the whole evening. It's about who you're with, your friends, having a good time, but they saw it off brilliantly.
It's a bit amazing at times. I really enjoyed Super Furries, but I lost my girlfriend, so I went on a bit of a downer then when Manic was on. But I still enjoyed it in a way.
I had a brilliant time. I lost all my friends, but then I ended up going on people's shoulders all night and had a really fantastic time.
highlights for me, okay, was when the Super Furries played Mountain People and they stole the show. That was just amazing, I think. When the bells went in, we were all standing together on the dance floor, clutching each other, waiting, and then we just hugged each other, had a massive laugh.
It was brilliant.
The Manics are great. The Manics they were good. Super Furry Animals are good, and Feed are good as well.
Outstanding. Very good.
The Manics was just the best gig they've ever done in their lives. It's the best gig I've ever been to in my life.
Well, that's a satisfied customer.
Absolutely. I'd agree with the former there. It was pretty much the best Manics gig I've seen since their infancy, when they were little children. Yeah.
Hello, by the way, to everyone in the Manic Street Preachers chat room. I think I'm supposed to be saying at this point. Hello, good evening. So everyone's tuned in, listening for that. Was it that bad at the bar?
It was an absolute nightmare at the bar. Yeah. There's no way around it. It was one of those bars, you took one look at it and you thought, right, do I watch the gig or do I go to the bar? You know, it was absolutely horrendous.
It wasn't like that at the Highbury Garage.